Nwodo, the President General of Ohaneze, Ndigbo worldwide, has lamented that Vice President Osinbajo has been rendered obsolete in the Buhari's administration, likening him to a bishop without a cathedral. Is the same Nwodo that is also facing some issues in the association called Ohaneze Ndigbo. It is said that he has been kicked out and somebody else is going to replace him. Chief Nwodo said this while responding to questions during a Zoom conference series COVID-19, turning a crisis into opportunities. He spoke about this on May 23rd, Friday 2020. While speaking on the topic of the day, the coronavirus pandemic, is it time to reevaluate the political structure? Nwodo went down memory lane to narrate the challenges and threats he personally faced while fighting for the interest of the masses. He narrated how the federal government blocked him and his contemporaries from attending a rally organized by the Southwest, Southeast, South-South, and the Middle Belt. Now, all this Southwest, Southeast, South-South, and Middle Belt, some have said there is nothing like South-South, although the South-South want to keep their identity, which I do not say as a crime, but there is it's not also a crime to educate them that there is nothing like South-South. But if they claim that there is South-South and they want to keep to themselves, it is all right. Let there be Southeast, South-South, Middle Belt, Southwest, and if possible, North-North, North-East, North-West, whenever anyone wants to carve. He also recounted how his house was bombed after he delivered a speech at the National Assembly, hammering on the need to restructure the country. I do not see anything that can be restructured in Nigeria. How can you restructure something that is in total decay? How can you restructure a house that has cracks all over? You break such down and rebuild. He lamented on the docile position the Vice President Osinbajo has been relegated to. He said, our Vice President is like a bishop without a cathedral. And I want to go back memory lane where he spoke to Channels Television, and that was about the 2023 presidency being given to an Igbo man. And he said that based on the constitution, the jaundiced constitution that we have in Nigeria at the moment, it will not enable anyone, notwithstanding the region that you are coming from, to make a positive impact. That is what he said. Now, aside this, I believe that any president from whatever region, notwithstanding the region, if they really have a moral standard and they want to do the right thing, they will. It doesn't matter the constitution. They will be able to do the right thing. He talked about a lot of things as regards the rule of law and how things are done. If you are going to act, probably they will say this man has become a dictator. You don't want to follow the rule of law. Why? Because the judiciary itself has been compromised, a lot of issues. So probably that is what he was pointing out. And he also spoke about the presidency being given to an Igbo man. He said that is simply sectional aggrandizement and he doesn't feel good with this. But whatever that is, I do not support restructuring. Even the humanitarian affairs ministry that he heads has been taken away from him and handed over to a woman. He is still talking about the vice president, Pastor Osinbajo, Professor Osinbajo. Other points Chief Nwodo raised during the teleconference include COVID-19, Nigeria is no longer financially sustainable. The presidential system of 36 states plus federal government can no longer be funded. The government structure of Nigeria would be brought down with recession. It is only the Northwest that is against restructuring. Leaders from the four zones, Southwest, Southeast, South-South, and the Middle Belt should come together and issue a statement demanding a restructuring program with a notice to the African Union and the United Nations to moderate. Well, as regards the restructuring, what he posited, what he talked about is simply allowing each region to manage their resources. And I've listened to several commentators and political analysts who talked about the idea of breaking away or restructuring based on resources is wrong. And anyone that comes up with that simply shows that the person is just out there to steal. The person lacks the ability to reason, use the cognitive reasoning to see. What these political analysts and commentators said is this, which I buy into. They gave an example. They said governors have a certain percentage that of funds or certain resources that are with them that they manage. And he said that if 10% cannot be managed, do you think 100% will be well managed? It will not be well managed. It will be riddled with the same corruption, ethnicity. You begin to have this religion, no longer religion now, because let's say we have a different region which we might say, okay, these people are predominantly Christians, these ones are predominantly Muslims, these people are predominantly traditional worshippers. All of that would not be too much out of in need, but there is going to be a common thing: greed. Greed does not care if you're a Muslim, you're a Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, if you're brown, blue, green, yellow. Greed is universal. And that is what will be replicated. Corruption will be replicated. So anybody that cannot handle 10% cannot handle 100%. It's not just possible. Many of the governors, traditional rulers, and many people that have access to this, to be on the forefront or to be the leader or to be the voice, we've seen them countless times. They have ridiculed themselves. And of course, they have kept oppressing their people. And they have failed the nation. So the idea of restructuring based on the natural resources and all of these things is not even the way forward. It's not the way forward. I do not think that there's going to be progress in line with that. When you are talking about restructuring based on human capacity, based on what you need to put into the lives of your people, then it's a different thing. If you are talking about restructuring, okay, we want to restructure the system in a way whereby education will be given to these people this way, this particular age this way. You are talking of restructuring based on progress, value, then it's different. If you are talking of restructuring only on resources, let us handle our resources. Well, I don't think that's just the way out. Because many governors that speak the same language as their people, they take security vote every month. They collect a lot of money from resources here and there. What have they done with it? Look at the other day, Gandola was collecting money, kickback money, bribe money from contractors that come to mine in his own state. It's the same thing. He's getting money from the resources in his own place. So these governors are doing the same, the ones that have it. So restructuring based on managing resources alone is not the way forward. I think restructuring based on value that you're going to impute into the people will be a better idea. But like I said, you cannot restructure Nigeria. Nigeria cannot be restructured. Why? Because the will to do it is not there. And the foundation of Nigeria itself is faulty. It's faulty. So the idea of restructuring will be a scam. It will be much more of a scam. That is my own opinion. If you are a political analyst or you've looked more into the issues of Nigeria or you're more vast in this, come to the comment section and talk about how restructuring can take Nigeria to the next level. Are we going to take off the name called Nigeria and give it a new name? At least a name that we can relate with, a name that we can work with. Are we going to become the United States of Nigeria with different, or the United Regions or whatever it is, in which each region will have its own specific law, but the law will not be laws that will be against humanity, such as the one that is in the north, the Sharia law? They cannot come up with that. Simply put, if someone from the south or from any of the states go down there, they should be able to live calmly. They should be able to live safely. But because this is not going to be so, that's why I say restructuring is going to be difficult. How do you take off from people that have a different value system, different idea of how life is? How do you take people that have never known how to work with the rule of law? How do you run that? You cannot. So Nwodo has said a lot of things several times, aside saying that the vice president is non-functioning. Of course, what else does he expect? He cannot function if he already said that the rule of law, the constitution, is jaundiced. It's the role of the vice president is stated in the constitution, and he cannot cross. The only thing he can do is to say, look, I don't care if I'm going to lose my job. I don't care what's going to happen. What I see happening in this administration is not supposed to be. That is a different thing. Morality
on that aspect, he can say what he wants to say. Then Nwodo also pointed several things out aside restructuring, and he talked about how Nigeria how regions should be allowed to grow at their own pace, not allowing some other regions to drag the others down. As we know what's happening now, the North is dragging the South down, and that's the purpose. That's the purpose of the amalgamation itself originally, to join the North and the South, because the North is not viable. Recently they said they found crude oil and people felt good. Why can't we just break apart now, manage your crude oil, stay with your crude oil, and let's work the South? Imagine if Nigeria, the North and the South were never together. I believe there would be so much humongous growth in the South. The South, in fact, you need to just need to envision this. You need to see this in your mind. Just look into it like you're seeing a vision. How the South would have developed much more. How life would have been better. At least the kind of corrupt politicians that we have now, many of them will never have been so bold and brazen as they are at this moment. But look at them now. They are so bold and they are ready to do anything just to make sure that they retain their position. So what's your take about what Nwodo has said as regards restructuring? And a lot of comments here and there as regards this. Osinbajo has been handicapped, like I said, and Nwodo has said it. He has said the truth. He has said the truth as regards that. But I don't know what your own take is as regards his own restructuring idea and the breakaway of Nigeria, which a lot of people have been speaking about. And I always repeat, aside the break apart, there are a lot of things that we need to see, that we need to look into. It's very important that we look into these things. Do not think that breakaway from Nigeria is just the only solution to the problem that we have. There are a lot of issues that are on ground, and this issue has to do with our value system, morals. It has to do with what we have accepted as normal, some cultural practices, and many other things, and of course, corruption. It's very important that we deal with this. It's very important. And that is the bishop without a cathedral. And that is no other than Pastor, Professor, Yemi Osinbajo. He has been kept mute. He has been kept quiet. As a result of the constitution, he cannot do more than what he can do. The only thing, like I said, is moral conscience for him to come out and say, look, what is happening here is not supposed to be. I don't want to be part of this no more. For my soul, as a pastor, as a Christian, or even morally, even aside being a Christian, because this is not right. After all, some other countries out there, the way they run their system is not because they are Christians, but because they have chosen. It's a choice. It can also make a choice. But maybe there is a reason why he wants to stay there. Who knows? Anything can happen. Anything can happen in the next 24 hours that will turn the table around.